Well, my first question to you, it was, what was it like playing under Bill Parcells in the 80s and the early 90s?
Well, that was a great experience playing for the Big Tuna. Bill Parcells, a great coach. Obviously, he's a Hall of Famer. I'm happy for him that he made that several years ago. It was just a unique type of individual. They had a lot of great people around him supporting cast, so it wasn't that much hard for him, but at the same token, he worked very hard and got the guys ready to go, and we had a lot of success together.
Perry, what are some of the things about guys like Lawrence Taylor and Harry Carson that people might not know about as fans, as analysts? What were some of the things that you saw in practices and games that a lot of people wouldn't know about those two guys?
Well, first and foremost, they were great players. Both of them are Hall of Famers, as you all know. The guys just went out there and played. It was unique with us, with those two particular guys. There was, team players. It was about teamwork. It was about playing together, playing as a team, as a group. And it's one of the main reasons we had a lot of success in the 80s and the 90s. Just guys like that were superstars, but they understood that everybody had a role and everybody worked cohesively together. If we win together, that's a great thing. We didn't want to lose, so we tried to win. So the old adage is teamwork makes the dream work. So our dream became a reality because we worked as a team. So everything worked out good with those guys as well as the rest of the guys.
We are speaking to two-time Super Bowl champion, ex-New York Giant, Perry Williams. Perry, what are your thoughts of Bill Belichick? The everything that he's done as a head coach in the NFL, you worked under him. He was your defensive coordinator for all those years with the New York Giants. What were your thoughts to being a six-time Super Bowl champion and all the success he's had with the Patriots? Did you ever think that this guy was going to be as successful as he is today?
I'm not that surprised. I saw traits of it early on back in 1983, my first year when I got drafted by the Giants. And by 84, I could see it materializing that this guy was something special about him. I had the privilege and honor to be with him for 8 years, my first 8 years in the league. And I knew he was going to do something special. I didn't know he was going to do that special like that in New England. He's a legend up there, and it's not only in the New York metropolitan area, but he's definitely a legend up in the New England area. So I'm happy for him, and he's still going to do some great things. Obviously, I understand now that his main guy, Brady, is gone, but I'm sure he'll still do well. Bill was a studious guy. He was like a mad scientist. If it's the first thing as a genius of football, then Bill Belichick is one of those guys. I know he's surely going in the Hall of Fame without a shadow of a doubt when that time comes. But it was just an honor and a pleasure to be able to work with him, and I'm very happy for him and all his success.
When you look at the New York Giants now as an organization and all these years, and you were a part of the organization for the two-time Super Bowl champions of the 80s and the 90s, and then you see all the great teams that we've seen in 2007 and 2011, all the trials and tribulations that they had to go through to win the other two Super Bowls, what Eli had to go through. Being a person that's sitting on the sidelines and now watching the growth of some of these players like Eli Manning, who just retired, what would you tell Eli now that his career is over as a future Hall of Famer that will be probably inducted into the Hall of Fame in the next 5 or 6 years?
Well, I'll tell you what, Eli Manning was a great Hall of Famer. I'm one of the people of this, fellas. I had the great honor and privilege to play against his father, Archie, at the tail end of his career. So he comes from a great pedigree, of course. And I watched him from afar, Eli, throughout his time with the Giants for many, many years, 16 years or whatever it was. He was just truly a professional. If he was any such word as a professional guy who understood the concept of being a ball player in the New York metropolitan area, he was definitely one who was able to do that. And I was proud of the fact not only did he play and have a lot of success on the field, but he did a lot of things off the field. He was giving back to the community and the things that he was able to do. So I truly believe that he's a Hall of Famer, and I'm sure he'll get in there. He should anyways. He's a Hall of Famer in my book, and many other guys who played in the past and as well as in the present, that he should get in that time come in those next 5 years.
Perry, sports shows like ours always like to compare different eras of football, different eras of any sport, and how positions evolve over time. What do you think are the primary differences, maybe in terms of technique, in terms of skill, etc., of cornerback, the cornerback position when you played versus today, or versus, again, other eras of football? What do you think are the primary differences as a whole?
Oh, the difference is now you can't hit like you used to hit. Once upon a time, the technique is different now. The tackling technique, can't hit him high around the head strap anymore. Got to hit him around his waistline or whatever. So the technique is not as aggressive as it once were. The jam technique, as they call it in the defensive back secondary aspect of playing. The whole total game has changed. I don't think it'd be hard for me to play now because it was about you really hitting hard and really wrapping up. And can't hit the guy in open field too many times. He's going across the middle anymore, so you got to hit him low. And wrap up. But it's changed. The game has changed, and I understand it's changed for the betterment of safety for these guys. There's a lot of injuries going on. It's no secret. It is the CTE. Nobody want to get that, but unfortunately, in the name of the game is playing rough. It's a barbaric game. It's a tough game, but you have to realize again that anything can happen. But I think overall the game, you're trying to make it safe to a degree, but at the same token, it's still a rough game and it's still a tough game. And the guys, whatever's going to happen is going to happen. The way I look at it, it's like playing Russian roulette. You never know what's going to happen. And hopefully you come out on the better side, on the better end, in the end result.
We are speaking to Perry Williams. If you don't know who he is, two-time Super Bowl champion with the New York Giants, keynote speaker. He's had an unbelievable career as an NFL player, the years that he played with the New York Giants and the success that he had with the New York Giants, 87 being the number one cornerback for the New York Giants, and really his growth as a keynote speaker, a speaker to high school kids, kindergarteners, has been absolutely amazing. You bringing up CTE, and this is, to me, a big story, and it's been a big story for the NFL, and they're trying to figure out ways to protect players, all the different things that we've seen on all different networks, talking about what the NFL needs to do and what the NFL has done in the last couple of years of Roger Goodell. What are your thoughts with some of these ex-players that have gone through all the trouble that they've had with...
Well, I'm very saddened to hear. I really did not know that too much because I hadn't been really keeping up with football. After I left the game, I got so tied up with doing my outreach programming and doing my leadership initiatives that I kind of left football for a little while. But just to find out that over these last 10, 15, 20 some odd years, a lot of these guys are starting to suffer, and I did not know that until recent times. A lot of these guys with CTE and the other crippling elements that they have. A lot of guys that I know I play against are crippled now. A lot of them on a walker, all kind of different things that is going on. So I'm happy that the NFL is doing a lot of things. I know they just had a new CBA collective bargaining agreement. Yep. Contract came out, and that's going to benefit all of us and the guys who played in the past as well as myself. So I appreciate that opportunity as well, that they're going to make sure they help everybody. I think that should be the case because those guys from the 40s and 50s or whatever, even back in the 30s, they was pioneers for yesteryear. So those kind of people, I know a lot of those men are probably deceased now, but the guys who play, I guess I would say in the 60s or 70s and 80s on up, of course, you want to take care of those guys. So these guys kind of help pave the way to what is the NFL is at now. I think they're, $15 or $20 billion a year. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's no chump change. That's nothing to sneeze at. So to help these guys out there, that's the more righteous thing to do, I believe.
Perry, I want you to explain or compare players today from players from your generation.
Well, my generation was hard-nosed guys. You had a lot of great players in that era. That's in the 80s and in the early 90s when I was there. I went through a litany of great guys. I had the privilege of going against the Earl Campbells and the Chuck Munsters of the world, Don Regans. All the way at the end of my career, I was going against Emmitt Smith and Barry Sanders and those kind of guys, and Jerry Rice and Michael Irving, and so all the way up before when I first began going against John Jefferson and some of these Art Monk and some of these other guys. So I had the great honor and privilege to play in the two different eras, the 80s and the 90s, and I had a chance to play against a lot of great guys. The players now, as I said, I don't really watch a lot of pro football anymore. I love hockey in college. I'm big into that, but being the fact that I'm from North Carolina, where I live in North Carolina, high school football is big. Obviously, college football, but I think that the guys are big and they're strong and they're tough now. As compared to when I was playing, they had big guys then, but not like they are now. These guys are much bigger, a little bit bigger than we were at the time. A lot of, especially the offensive linemen, defensive linemen, the big. But I just think that these guys nowadays, I think they got a little easier, and that's fine for them with the Players Association Union. These guys practice once a day now, or something like that. Back in my day,
once every other day.
We had to practice twice a day, sometimes 3 times a day.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a little cupcake walk for them with some of these young guys now. I call it country club. But it's a different mentality. It's a different era. The generations have changed. But football is still football. You still got to tackle, catch and run and do all those different things anyway to play the game and play the game respectively the right way. You got to really go out there and put your all out there, your best effort, your best foot forward. And these guys are out there doing some great things. I got one of the boys that's from my hometown in North Carolina. We got a program where I come from in North Carolina, even though it's a small area. I live in the next town over from Pinehurst, North Carolina. A lot of people in the audience will hear the Pinehurst, the golf resort. Well, I live in the next town, a little town called Hamlet. So we've had in the last since 1973, here it is 2020, we've had 25 NFL players come out of a little town of 50,000 people in the whole county where I come from. So
wow.
The newest kid that you know about, you've heard of right now, is Melvin Eaton, L.A. Chargers, I guess they call him now. The great linebacker they got out there, he's from my high school. So we got a lot of lithium. Great high school. Darnell Ellaby, he would play with the Ravens and Philadelphia, I think.
New Orleans.
He's on that team with the linebacker. So we've had a litany of ball players. Mike Quick, all 4 wide receivers for the Eagles for many years, 80s and early 90s. Louis Breeden, another defensive cornerback, played for the Bengals. He was ahead of me, but he played a long time. Then we had our great baseball player, played for the Los Angeles Dodgers for many, many years, a guy named Frank DeSub. So we're growing pretty good down there in my area where I'm from, and had a lot of success down there over the years. But I'm happy for the guys that we got right now. We have only one now in the NFL for my area, and but I'm happy that that Melvin is doing very well out there in California, and I'm sure he'll have many more great years ahead of it.
We are talking to ex-New York Giant and 2-time Super Bowl champion, keynote speaker Perry Williams.
Perry, you mentioned a lot of the names of the players of your era that you played against, the great players, different running backs, different receivers. Is there any matchup maybe that players that a person wouldn't know about or wasn't as high of a radar player that was a tough matchup for you? And if so, why? Like a guy that was more under the radar?
Well, all the guys that I played against in the 80s and 90s are great ball players across the board, actually. Gary Clark. Gary Clark from the Washington Redskins. He got a little publicity, but Art Monk got more publicity than he did the other great Hall of Fame wide receivers they had there in that time frame. Gary Clark, he was a tough little matchup. He was shifty. He was a great little player, and did a lot of great things. I think he went to James Madison University in Virginia, when he came out, him and Charles Haley, if I'm not mistaken. It's on there, but names like him, Gary Clark comes to mind quite a bit. He was a tremendous ball player down there, and I don't think a lot of people realize. I'm sure the D.C. area, Maryland, Virginia, Northern Virginia know about him, but across the country, a lot of people didn't realize. But he was a great player to play against, and a great matchup, and he was tough to play. But I always admired his game and the way he went about his business, as a professional.